All right, it is time to rock and it is time to roll. I'm excited for tonight's call. I'm Jeff St. Laurent. Tonight we're going to talk about how to set pricing and session structure for your coaching packages. And this would be assuming that you do coaching where it's let's say primarily one-on-one, or you can also relate this to small groups as well. So before we get into that, I just want to share a few things to make sure we can make available the resources that I offer to everybody. If you haven't gone there yet, my website, sellingcoaching.com, and on there, if you go to the University tab, that's where you're going to see when I post the recordings of the Tuesday calls. So this call is recorded, so some of you will be listening to there, but if you happen to get some information tonight that or if you don't want to be writing down as you're listening, when you get some valuable nuggets of information, I do have them all recorded and posted on my University. Also on the University, I post weekly. I'll be posting some shorter, quicker videos, 2 minutes or less, on just tips around selling and all different aspects there. In addition, there's a whole bunch of other videos there as well. So there's a lot of great free education there, and I really aim to deliver a lot of value. That's stuff that's going to help you guys out. So definitely check that out. And the last resource I want to share, which I know a lot of you on the call are a part of already, is my private Facebook group. So if you go to Facebook, and if you just type in Selling Coaching in the search bar, probably a couple things will come up. One of them is my Facebook page, which if you want to go ahead and like it, that's awesome. But also there's the Facebook group. It's a private group, and I'm just super excited at the momentum we're creating. We're getting new people coming in there every week from all different places. But we're a group of coaches that are looking to interact, and that's my main thing is I'm building an audience. I'm building a community, and I want to be engaged in this community with people, and I want to participate. And I want to connect with people who want to participate as well. We're doing a lot of cool things there, and a lot of it is video-based. And a lot of it's video-based just for the simple fact that it allows us to get to know people a whole lot better. But also as coaches is, one of our biggest things, especially what I teach with selling is we got to get our message out there, and we are the message, we are the brand, and becoming comfortable with yourself on a video camera is not an easy thing. I've been fortunate where with my fitness background, when I started off, I did a lot of video work, a lot of video feedback. I was fortunate enough to film and do educational DVDs on a national level, international level, where those were going out worldwide to people, and I had to get over seeing myself on video really quickly. And so I've had that fortune of that experience and that background, and that's translated nicely into what I do now. And what I want to do is I take some of that expertise that I've carried over and share that with people. And so within this group, it's been really cool to just get to know some people. And I was actually just watching a few videos before I got on with some people that had posted there. And I'm just sitting there smiling, looking at these people. And, there's some people are comfortable. Some people are just so far not comfortable. And it's a really big step for them to get themselves out there and we're starting with basic stuff, just saying who they are and what they do and doing some fun things. So if that's something that sounds like in its alignment of what you're doing for and what you're looking for, definitely go check that private Facebook group out. Love to have you over there. You can read the description. If it's right for you, just click it, join it. I can approve you in, and we can get going and get you moving. So that's some exciting stuff that's going on. It's great to have everyone on the call. I appreciate you calling in. I know a lot of you listen to the recording, but taking your time for calls like this is important. And so I want to make sure that I deliver the best value that I can for you tonight. So let's jump right into some great content here, and we'll see when we end. Typically, I always end like right at 10, and then I always open up the line for questions. But if I happen to end early, we'll always entertain questions a little earlier. So let's dive right in. So when we talk about setting pricing and session structure for our coaching packages, like I said, this is primarily for if you're looking to have one-on-one coaching clients, small group coaching clients, right? There's a lot of business models out there with coaches where people don't do one-on-one coaching anymore. You can do a lot of great things in large groups, small groups, things like that. I've always been a person where, I mentioned my fitness days. I started off in the fitness industry, and I had my own personal training business for 15 years. And somewhere in the midst of there, I started to transition into coaching, and then since then I've had my coaching practice since 2004, doing that full time. And the one thing that has been a thread through that both those businesses is I've always done one-on-one, whether it's personal training or one-on-one coaching. And there's just something about it for me that I can't see myself ever getting away from that one-on-one space, or at least having that as a small component of my business, because there's just something really awesome about just being there with that person and just getting to know them really on an intimate level and helping them, wherever, in this case, growing their business, finding their niche, getting their message out there, overcoming those fears or whatever it is. And those of you who are coaches that have had clients, we know that power of that. And so I really want to help with the pricing and the session structure, and more importantly, the why behind it, because I've gone through so many different structures over that, if you will, combined, let's say 26 years of, let's say, developing, packages and pricing and changing this and changing that and what works best. So the things I talk about tonight, this isn't just like, oh, hey, this is just what I do, so you should do it. This is a strong recommendation on what I do, why I do what I do, and kind of the philosophy behind it and why it works, because I know it works, because it's worked in my business for so long. And I want to share that because I want to take the guesswork out of this for you. And you can look at a bunch of different coaches. A lot of you have gone to different coaching schools, and of course they all make their different recommendations as well. So whatever I say, if it contradicts maybe what you've seen or what you heard, my intention here is not to say, hey, what's right or what's wrong. My intention is to say, hey, this has been my experience, and this is what I know works, and this is why I teach it. And if it's something that works for you, like when I work with my one-on-one coaching clients, I say, hey, this is what works. And when they go through that experience, I talk about the things that I'll be sharing tonight, and I'll say, how did it feel for you? What did you like about that? Why did it work for you? So they go through that experience firsthand, and I say, use it because it works. So that's just kind of a little preface about kind of where this comes from and the background of that and why I'm teaching it. So when it comes to pricing, let's talk about that. Pricing is something that a lot of coaches are very uncomfortable with, especially as we're starting off. And so let's forget about for a second in terms of what we charge in terms of a dollar amount. Let's just look at actually like a package, like a coaching package. So when we start off with that, I recommend one coaching package. So when you get to the end of the process, and typically as a coach, when we go through a process of lead, we gauge interest, we invite them to a complimentary session. Again, the complimentary session, as I talk about so much, is really that opportunity for them to get a feel for if they were to hire us. And then at the end of that session is when we typically, assuming they're interested and they see value in hiring us, we move forward and we talk about, here are the options for hiring us, right? When we talk about it, I always recommend one package. Here's my package. Here's how I work. It's 9 sessions, and then that totals a certain dollar amount. So you take your cost per session, whether it's $100, it's $200, or wherever it is in between, and I use those ranges specifically. It doesn't mean you can't go higher than that. If go higher than $200 a session, fantastic. I'm just using those ranges right now. That's where I'd recommend people to start off with somewhere in that range, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. But whatever, so if I'm just going to use the number of $100 a session for the sake of right now. So whatever it is, it's 9 sessions for $900. If I was charging $100 per session, right? The reason I recommend one package is because decision creation at the time of sale needs to be as easy and straightforward as possible. I've done many different packages when I started my coaching business, different options. Oh, you could do this amount of sessions for this. You could do this amount of sessions for this. Maybe I've had a third one in there as well. And what I found is that it was just people are now having to do division and math to figure out what's the per session cost if it's not an easily divisible number like $900 for 9 sessions. Okay, it's $100 a session. But people are now they're starting to think too much at this point. So you want to have one group of sessions for one price. It makes it a whole lot easier from that standpoint. Now, when it comes down to another reason why we get into that one session is not from a decision-making standpoint now, but it's mostly also in terms of how many sessions we're going to offer. So the reason I give 9 sessions is, and I'm not talking on a monthly basis or any type of time frame right now, it's just 9 sessions, is I've found, and I've offered all different types of package sizes, like 12 sessions, 15 sessions, 20 sessions, 4 sessions, a bunch of different ones, and I landed on the sweet spot of 9 sessions. And this is so crucial, I'd recommend you use this, is that the number 9 comes from when we work with coaching clients. Obviously, it's fair to say, and I'm assuming everyone would agree with this, that the longer we work with somebody, the more success and the more impact we can create with them. All right? It's a no-brainer. If I work with them twice, or 9 sessions, or 10, or 100, if I'm working with someone for 100 sessions, I'm going to have much more success with them and can do much more with them over that time. So with the 9 sessions, what I found was, the reason why it's so successful and why I recommend this is that when we work with someone, at least when I start with them, I start off on a weekly basis. And we want to meet week to week. And that's something that should be non-negotiable when it comes to coaching clients. We don't want to compromise that. Let's say someone, I've done this early on, and some of my coaching clients currently, they're like, oh, well, I've done this because, you know, maybe their finances were tight or they seemed like money was an issue, but they really wanted to work with me. So I said, well, why don't we work on maybe an every other week basis? But then I would ask the coach, well, do you, what's going to work best for that client? They're like, oh, well, I would definitely want to work with them on a week-to-week basis. I'm like, okay, well, why are you compromising and doing every other week? They're like, oh, well, they said their finances are tight. I'm like, okay, but what is a money objection about? And I go over this in some other calls. Remember, it's all going to come down to value. And if now you're compromising and going every other week, you're compromising the value of the coaching relationship. It's going to be less valuable for them, especially in the beginning. If you're starting off, and 2 weeks between a call, especially in the beginning of a coaching relationship, is forever. It is forever, and you lose momentum. You need that week-to-week basis, especially in the beginning. So you're meeting with them on a week-to-week basis. So when they hire you, they're super excited. They're like, oh my God. They're excited, they're scared, they're nervous. It's a whole ball of emotions. But from the complimentary session to the first session, they're excited and they get things going. And typically in that first 1 to 2, maybe into that 3rd week, they're on the upswing. Things are getting better. They're doing something about it. They've hired someone. They're working on it. So the emotions are good. So first like 1 to 2 weeks, that's where they go. Then what happens after that 2nd into that 3rd week or so, like just life hits. And then they just go back to, or they revert back to some old habits. And typically what I find is that all of a sudden week 3 to 4, they just kind of get hit with challenges and just life stuff. And there's a kind of a drop-off, not necessarily in results per se, but you could see drop-off in results, but it's a drop-off in action, it's a drop-off in motivation, it's a drop-off in energy, not necessarily engagement in the coaching relationship, but typically calls 3 to 4 are going to be just, okay, we've kind of fallen off a little bit. Hey, let's talk about what's going on. And we're kind of just, dealing in, maybe we might be talking on completely different areas of initially why they hired you in the first place. And so we get to that spot, and that's going to take us through, like I said, weeks 3 and 4. Now we get it into weeks 5 and 6. So now weeks 5 and 6, that we tend to kind of get back on the path again. And it's not like a big upswing, but it's just kind of like that we got like when they initially hired us. It's just kind of like, okay, all right, we ground them a little bit, they get some clarity, they work a few things out, they create a few boundaries for themselves, whatever it is, and now they kind of like, it's a flatline effect, meaning now they're just moving forward. It's not high, it's not low, it's just like, okay, I'm starting to move forward a little bit. So this is week 5 or 6. Now we get into weeks 7 and 8. Week 7, they're starting to continue on that process. Now enough time has gone by where they're starting to maybe get a little bit of result, or they're starting to see some things happen. And so now we're into that week 7 and 8. Now they're like, wow, they're not high, they're not low, they're moving forward, but they're like, wow, this is working, or I start to feel really good. This is why when we get to that 8th to 9th week, they're getting to that spot where it's like, now I feel like I'm back on track. I feel like I'm moving forward, and I've made some progress on what I've initially, let's say, come to this person to work with on my coach. All right. So typically by that 9th week, they're going to be in a spot where they're excited, they're feeling good again, they're moving forward. They still got those, if you will, those challenges that they're still working on a consistent basis, but they're moving forward. So that 9th week it becomes a great reevaluation point to say, like, wow, this is good. I like what I'm doing, but obviously we can work more together. There's more things we can do together. Should they see the value in that? And that 9th week, it comes at a perfect time because they're not down. They've gone through that up and down process already, but they've come back up, and now they're more consistent. And that's when they're feeling really good. And that's when people really start to feel like, all right, this is working, and I can move forward with this. The other packages that I offered was anything shorter than that 9, especially that 4th week, or a lot of people have done 4 sessions. That's when if you go through that cycle that I just went through, typically that, like I said, that 3rd or 4th week is that week where they're kind of like dropping down. And when I was doing shorter packages like that, especially with coaching, I was just losing a lot of clients because they were just like, oh, and they weren't feeling like they were getting anywhere. They were feeling hopeless. And it's hard. It was just much harder to pull people out of that when, we've only had 4 weeks together. 4 weeks goes by really quickly with somebody. And then when I was going longer than 9 sessions, like another popular package that I offered quite a bit was, and I've sold at a lot of events that I did, was 12 sessions. And what happened is that, so like I said, if I go back to that cycle of getting to that, 8th, 9th session where they're kind of like, wow, I'm feeling good, they're feeling solid. It's like real results. It's steady results, not just, oh, I'm super excited because I just did something, but I really haven't done anything yet, so I fall flat on my face like in the first few weeks. It's solid stuff. But then after that is that 9th week is they start really pushing and engaging, and they continue on that path. So if you end on week 12, and that's, if you will, quote, your last session, then what happens is a lot of people just wouldn't rehire me. And I've got to say, like, of the 12 session packages that I've sold in the past, and I went back and kind of looked through some of that stuff, and I had about 15 packages that I sold at 12 sessions. Not one of them rehired me at 12 sessions. And when I did 9 sessions, my rehire rate in terms of people continuing on with me from that is over 90%. So over 90% of the clients that I work with over the course of the last 11 years, and I've had well over, it was like 270 clients as of right now over those years, and done well over I'm getting in close to 6,000 sessions that I've done over those years. And 90+% of those people will hire me for more than 9 sessions. And I'm going to talk about the length of a relationship, because that's going to be an important aspect, not only to our ability to get results, but also from a sustainability point in our coaching business. So just keeping on that theme right now, why the 9 sessions? So we offer one package, 9 sessions for X amount of dollars. And that 9 sessions, I wanted to go through that philosophy of why 9? Why is that magic number? And if you translate that 9 into a time frame, if you're meeting on a weekly basis, 9 weeks is obviously just over 2 months. But inevitably in that 9 weeks, there's going to be a week or 2, and it's mostly 2 to 3 times is what I found on average, where we have to miss a session, and maybe they're on vacation, maybe they got stuff going on. It's just inevitable. So really, 9 sessions, it takes 3 months to go through. That's the magic number. It's 2.5 to 3 months to go through. That's what I always tell my clients when I go through at the end of my coaching complimentary session, is it's 9 sessions, and that's going to take us 2.5 to 3 months to go through. And at that point is a great time to reevaluate where we are and decide if, how we can continue on from there. 2.5 to 3 months is also a great time frame where it's enough time frame for us to really get our claws, if you will, on them and really start helping them and really start moving them forward. And if you think about it from a perspective of time, it's a good quarter of the year, right? We're working with them for a quarter of a year. So it's that quarter a lot can happen in that time frame, and enough time for us to get some good results with them. So that's why that 9 sessions works really, really well, and that's also why there's just one package we want to offer with them. So now, a lot of times we'll talk about, people will talk about if people buy more sessions, they offer discounts. So let's get into this a little bit here. Is very simply, never offer discounts. Never discount the dollar amount of your coaching session. I would rather give, if they do something, if they refer somebody, or if they, let's say they rehire you again, I would include another session free if you wanted to do something like that, but I would never change the price or the dollar amount that you charge per session. Never, ever, ever, period, end of story. And the reason is you never want anyone to feel like your price is negotiable. And especially people that say, well, if you buy, let's say, if they were doing a different model than I suggested here, like, oh, if you buy 4 sessions, let's say it's $400, but if you buy 8 sessions, instead of $100 a session, it's whatever less than that. So maybe it's like $725. So they get a little bit of a deal. But, well, why would you offer them a deal? Why would you slash your price? Are they getting less value? Are you delivering less value in those next 4 sessions that you have to offer them a discount? Absolutely not, right? And we have to understand the philosophy behind this is that when you discount, people start to automatically think it's negotiable. And it might not be a conscious thought like, oh, I'm going to negotiate the price. But there's also that thing is like, well, could I get it cheaper somewhere else? Meaning, in this case, is someone else getting it cheaper somewhere else? You never want to run into a price game, especially since if people talk and if you get referrals, people talk about price. Well, what are you paying? What are you paying them? What are they charging? And it would be the worst thing in the world if someone found out that someone else or a friend or someone that they referred or whoever was working with, let's say, me or someone else, and they were paying more, they were paying less. Especially if they were paying less than I was, people would get upset about that stuff. And you don't want to run into that piece. And it's going to make it a lot easier for you, especially from a standpoint of if anyone is tight on finances, and that's a real situation for some people, you don't want to change the price for them. Just the same as if someone has plenty of money and you can't judge, you can only judge it from what you can judge, but you want to get to the place where the dollar amount that you're charging, whether someone who's multi-billionaire, I'm just using an extreme case, is on the phone with you and looking to hire you, or someone is on the phone with you that is going bankrupt and they're losing their home, whatever, but they just really want to work with you. You want to feel like in that situation for that bankrupt person that you wouldn't lower your price at all, because where you stand is the value for your services. Just the same as the person who's, let's just say, that multi-billionaire, if you will, even though let's say they could clearly afford, let's say, a much more bigger price, you wouldn't raise your prices, and you don't feel like, oh, I should have charged more for that person. You want to initially set your pricing and get there and always be at the place where no matter what extreme of a person hires you, that you wouldn't have regret that you didn't charge more, or you don't feel like you should be charging less, because that is your value and that's where you stand. So that kind of helps us, if you will, get a gauge for where we want to price ourselves initially, but also recognizing that never discounting your price. And it's mostly coming down to, when you say never discount your price, it's like you just don't want to devalue yourself. That's the biggest thing is like, oh, I'm having a sale on coaching. It just feels cheap. It's like, yeah, you can have a sale on a book. You can have a sale or early event pricing for an event or something like that. But, discounting, we're having a sale on coaching. It's like, it just doesn't work. It just devalues our service. So just think about that. And mostly for us, it sets us to the spot where this is what it is. This is what I charge, period, end of story. And it's going to help you be a lot more confident when you're delivering your prices, when you're delivering your session cost and structure as well. The next thing I want to briefly talk about as well is refunds. Again, no refunds, never ever. All right, and so like, oh, well, you can see You could maybe offer refunds like on a seminar if you wanted to do that, or possibly a book. I wouldn't recommend it anyways. But if we're talking about coaching, you never offer refunds, and the biggest reason to that is number one, you can't make it safe for someone to hire you. The main reason people, like if you watch an infomercial, if you're not completely satisfied, send back, for a full refund, blah, 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 whatever the case is. It's like all that does is it makes the potential buyer feel a little bit safer about their purchase. I mean, it's like, okay, well, what's the worst case? If I don't like it, I can return it, right? So it takes kind of like, if you will, the risk out of buying something. That's the only reason why, marketers will use a, full refund guarantee or whatever they're going to call it. So in our case, we don't want to take the risk out of hiring us as a coach. And the reason why is, the number one reason why people hire us is because they want to move forward, let's say in some area of their life or their business or whatever it is. They want to improve that. That's scary. Their biggest challenge at the end of a complimentary session is not the money, is not I need to think about it or talk it over with my spouse or any of the things that they might say at that point. But the fact is that by them actually pulling out their credit card and hiring us and paying for it, what that really is it's a commitment to no one else but themselves. They're basically saying, I'm paying you this money, I'm investing this money in myself to move forward. What this means is I'm committing, I'm saying to myself, it's like, I'm doing it this time. Because why would I just spend or invest 100, 200, whatever it is for a phone call with somebody, right? And to just to blow that away. Because people don't have that kind of money to just throw out there for the heck of it, right? So they're really committing to that. So if we're then offering a refund, we're actually, and this is a very subconscious thing, is we're basically saying, hey, you know what? Here I am, and I'm going to hold you accountable, and I'm going to push you, and I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to be the person who, that you can trust and confide in and be objective and non-judgmental, and I'm going to be able to, be all those things that those people that are close to you and connected to you, like your family and the friends who are more than happy to tell you what to do or what you should be doing. I'm going to be that person that's not going to be judgmental in those areas, and that's going to push you and hold you accountable for this stuff. But you know what? If you chicken out or you really don't want to do it or you need the money because your car broke down, don't worry. I'll let you off the hook. Go ahead. No big deal. It's like a giant contradiction. It's just a giant contradiction. And it's not that that's a conscious thought, but that's really essentially what it is that we're saying nice and loud and clear. So that's really the number one reason why we never offer refunds. In the 11 years that I've done coaching, I've had literally a handful of people that had invested in some extra sessions that had asked for a refund. And when I'm giving you these examples, is in other words, it really, if not rarely, ever happens. And you're going to be moving a lot of clients over the course of time in order to come across this. And it wasn't because they were unhappy with, let's say, our coaching process, but this happened, if you will, very early on in the coaching relationship where they were just so scared and they were just very hesitant in moving forward. And the timing necessarily wasn't really right for them, but you could tell they really wanted to move forward. And it got down to a place where, they were just really in their head about things. And after they invested some, they made a partial payment and they would say things like, oh, you know what, my car broke down, and whether these are true stories or not. And I didn't let them out of their situation. I'm like, you know what, you invested in this. You said, hey, Jeff, I want to move forward with this. And this is part of your commitment. And I will tell you, every single one of those people, except for one person, was grateful in the end that I did that. Now that one person, we won't even talk about that. That's the anomaly. That was a real weird situation. But the point is that those people, I said, hey, the sessions never expire, and when the timing's right, you're ready to go. I'm here for you. And so what happened is those people, even if they were frustrated initially, I always put it on them and I put it on the commitment, and I stood by my rule of there are 0 refunds. I don't talk about it. I don't, bring it up. When they hire me and I send a welcome letter to them, I just basically say all sales are final, but it's not a focal point because it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a focal point. But the reason is that I'm bringing this up is because later on, when some of those people came to me and used the sessions, and it was either because they came to me because they knew they had some left that they had bought and never used, or it was a great opportunity for me to just kind of stay in touch with them. And a year went by and say, hey, I know you still have a couple of sessions with me that you haven't used. How's the timing in your life for something like this? Is this something you want to take advantage of? Is this something you want to set up, and go forward now? When they came back and people used those sessions, the majority of them ended up rehiring me and buying more sessions with me and working with me longer because the timing was better, gave them awesome value, and then they moved forward. So that's another reason why I say don't offer those refunds. And then another reason is that there have been more people than, if you will, that dozen people that have asked for refunds over the course of the 11 years. And of course I said, I'm sorry, I don't offer refunds. Like, this is something that you invested in and move forward. And it wasn't like they were trying to back out per se, but they just were scared. And I told them, like, I just know you're scared right now. And I would be a horrible coach if I said, yeah, just go ahead, here's your money back, go back to where you were. You came to me and you said, hey, I really want to do something about this, and I'm holding you to that. And they're like, yeah, you know what, you're right. And I will tell you this, of the other people, and I can't give you a number there, but there's been several people, over the course of years, dozens of people that have said that over the years, that never put up a stink about it, but it was kind of like brought it up. Those people, every single one of them, and that's 100% of them, and that's why the number of how many is irrelevant, because 100% of them at some point in the coaching relationship came back to me either on a call or in an email or something like that and said, Jeff, you know what? I just want to thank you for not refunding my money because I'm just getting such great results, or I'm so glad we're moving forward. I'm so glad and grateful that we're doing this because my life has changed and I'm creating such great results, and they're moving forward. And that's, if you will, beyond anything, that's the number one reason why you don't want to offer those refunds, is because, you know what? Those people are scared and they need someone to hold them, put their commitment right back in their face and say, this is why you're doing this. And it's us having faith in our work with these people that they're going to get those results. And I'm telling you, there's nothing better in a situation where someone's so scared, especially if they're asking for their money back, and you say no and you stand by that, and you give them the reasons. That's why I'm giving the reasons why, so you're not just feeling like a dick and saying like, yeah, no, you hired me and you're not going to use them, so I'm not going to give you your money back. Like, you're not trying to be a scam artist. This is a reason why, and tell them the reason why. And every time when you explain it like I explained it, is they get it. And even if some aren't happy in the beginning, they will come back and thank you when you work with them and they move forward with this stuff. Every single one of them will absolutely do that. So that's a huge, huge piece to it. So we talked about, no discounts, one price, one session package. A last quick point on the 9 sessions and why 9 sessions is whatever you're charging. And again, usually it's a range of typically about $100 to $200 a session, which for, an average range of, let's say, what people might maybe expect to pay, or what it might be worth to some people, or what the average coaches are charging nowadays. That's like, if you will, an average range. If you do that number, and let's just say, the $100 times 9 sessions is $900, or the $200 times 9 sessions is $1,800. All right. It keeps also the total initial investment within a fairly acceptable range. Acceptable meaning if you're doing, let's say, much larger sessions, like 20 sessions or 25 sessions or whatever, now you're getting up to $2,000, $3,000, maybe even more $1,000. And it's not like it's bad. People sell, several multiple $1,000 packages all the time. But initially, it gives it a better price point that people are going to get into coaching with. As opposed to, $2,000+ from that range. So just a couple of other reasons there. So in terms of how much you should charge, and I talked briefly about this already, is, like I said, between that $100 and $200 range. We have to think about this for a couple things. So first off, I would not recommend anyone, whether they're currently going through, let's say, a coaching school, if that's what you're doing, or whether you just graduated, maybe you haven't received your certification yet. And I bring this up because I talk to a lot of people that are either going through a coaching school, or let's say have graduated and maybe they haven't even gotten their certification yet. and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to charge like, a pre-coaching rate, a student rate, or an introductory rate while I'm, once I get my certification though, then I'm going to raise my price. And they're just really scared about, well, what do I charge? In a moment, I'll start off with free, or I'll start off with $50, or just something very minimal, if you will, to get going with things and to practice. So first off, with the certification, or if you will, all those letters after your name, and I'll be posting a video on this in the university later this week, but any of those letters after your name, first off, those don't mean anything to anybody. So I'm a CPC, or I have an ELI, or I do PMS, or that's a joke. So whatever these letters are, like, people don't know what those mean. And even if you say you're a certified coach, or I'm a certified professional coach, or whatever that is, or I went to coaching school, it doesn't matter to them. It really doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is that you are the expert in what you're doing, and you can assist this person. And if they're coming to you, that means they've seen you, they've heard you, they watched a video, they went to an event of yours, they seen you online, you came as a referral. That's the credibility. You're not going to get credibility through letters after your name, or a certification. You're going to get credibility, which credibility means believability. Where do we get that from? Is typically where we get that from is what makes us believable is, well, our niche and our message ideally comes from our backstory and kind of what we've been through, or maybe what we're even going through. It's what we've been challenged with in our life, what we've overcome, or what we're overcoming, what we're learning, what we're practicing. And now we're at the spot where we're just so passionate about it, is we want to help those people where we were, or how we were, or move through with this, or move forward with that. And so what gives us the most credibility is the fact that we know what they feel. We know what they think. We know what their challenges are. We know what their greatest struggles are. We know what they fear the most. We know what keeps them stuck, because they're us. We're them, or we were them. And that's the credibility that we get. That's how we can relay those things in our message. And no certification in the world is going to give you the credibility versus like living it and experiencing it and going through it. And even if you've gone to a certain point, maybe you're still on that journey, they're going to be people that you're working with where you were, even if it was last month or last year, that you can be assisting. So that's where our credibility, our believability, our message comes from. So never devalue yourself by charging, a pre-certification rate or any of that stuff. It's just, what does that say? It's just like, oh, I'm a doctor in practice, so I might get brain surgery right, but we're going to charge you a discount, because if I screw it up, well, oh well. But I'm just a student, so don't worry. It's going to make it better because I didn't charge you as much. I mean, does that even make any sense, right? So it's like you're almost coming into it. It's like, well, I'm just buying something that's not as good as it will be. And what makes all of a sudden, now that you're certified, if you will, or that you've graduated and you've got, if you will, the check mark that you've passed your test or whatever it is that makes you certified, what happens on that day that all of a sudden now you can go from $75 to $100 a session? Like, what happened? Did you get like dubbed a knight, or did you, what is it that all of a sudden makes you charge more money? You see where I'm going with this? It's just like, it doesn't make any sense. And so that's why it's like, it's all going to come down to your belief in yourself and your value in your message. That's really what it comes down to. So when we talk about how do we price ourselves in terms of a dollar amount, we have to think about it like this from a business model perspective. If initially, when we're starting off as a coach, our only product and service essentially is coaching, right? I mean, unless you're writing a book or doing events, or you've got some online ebooks or e-courses or whatever you're offering, coming out of the gates, we're starting off and we've got, all right, I've got one-on-one coaching and that's my product or service. And initially that's going to be, your number one income source starting off is people going to hire you as a coach. And so we have to think about this, is that if we're relying on that and it's just part-time income and it's just something we're doing on the side, it doesn't necessarily matter. I'm talking about, hey, if you want to become a full-time coach and this is going to be your full-time income, we got to think about it like this. From a business perspective, the $100 to $200 mark, when it comes down to the number of sessions per week, and again, this isn't just number talk of, me guessing. This is after doing this for 11 years and knowing what's appropriate and what you need in order to get what. So in other words, number of sessions per week. If you're doing one-on-one coaching, the most one-on-one sessions you're going to want to have or really be capable of long-term in a week is going to be about 10 to 12. Can you do more sessions? Absolutely. I've had, most sessions I've had in a week was like 45, and I was destroyed. I did an event. I did crazy amount of coaching packages, and I remember it was like 2 or 3 weeks in a row where I was well over 35 to 45 clients, and it just destroyed me. I didn't know who was what, and I didn't know what up was down. I'm like, who's this person that's calling me next? I mean, I'm sitting 8 hours on the phone every single day. It was crazy. It was awesome, and I was charged up, but it's just, you lose the value after a certain amount of time. And I found that over the course of time that sweet spot is that 10 to 12 sessions a week. Now, in order to get a certain amount of sessions per week, here's a quick formula for you so you'll understand this. If I want to have 10 sessions a week, or whatever number it is that you want, multiply that number by 2.5, and that's how many clients you're going to need in order to have that amount of sessions per week. So if I want to have 10 sessions a week, times 2.5 is 25. So I need 25 clients. I need 25 active clients that are, actively having sessions with me, at least, let's say, on a monthly basis, but ideally it's on an every other week basis, in order to have 10 sessions a week. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what you need in order to get that amount of sessions. So now when it comes down to that, the 10 to 12 sessions a week, if you were to multiply that out, let's say by your dollar amount, all right? So let's just go with 10 sessions a week, all right? That's 40 sessions a month, and we're just going on a 28, day cycle. So that's 40 sessions a month. That's $4,000 a month. So now you have to look at it from an income perspective, because now we're talking from a business model perspective, right? So $4,000 a month, and let's just, for the sake of it, multiply that by 12 months. So it's $48,000 a year, and that's income-wise, all right? If you're going to be charging $200 a session and you're doing 10 sessions a month, that's going to be roughly just under a six-figure income, just under $100,000 a year. So obviously, if you're charging $150 a session and you're doing 10 sessions a week, that's going to be about $75,000 a year. So I'm trying to translate this into a business model. So from the perspective of what you're earning to be a full-time coach, and with your expenses of living and whatever is required of you, even if it's not much, you just have to think about it from right now. If this is going to be my only source of income and my only product or service right now, how is that going to translate into me actually earning income and how much I'm going to earn? So that's why that $100 to $200 per session in terms of a dollar amount is where we want to be. Not only just because, if you will, that's just, it's when I say acceptable, don't think of it as it's just acceptable. It's just it's a fair value for someone who's going to really help them move them forward. So that's why that price range. That's why when we think about it in terms of how it's going to work and translate to an income perspective in terms of sessions per week. Because you have to think about it like this. If I'm doing 10 to 12 sessions a week, that's 10 to 12 hours. And I'm assuming, this is assuming you're meeting with people on the phone, meaning I could have 5 sessions in a row and just put in exactly, let's say, 5 hours, if that's how long my session time is. I don't have any commute time. It's all in one spot, so there's no downtime in that sense. If you have any face-to-face clients or things like that, that's going to account for travel time and other further expenses. So now if we're talking in a work week, let's just say it's 10 to 12 hours there, you've got to account for your marketing time, meaning what are you doing to get out there, to create your videos, to create your events, to promote your events, to get yourself out there in front of people. And that's going to account, that should be a good 30 to 40% of your week in terms of hour-wise. And those are the activities that are going to, if you will, be generating leads for us. Be generating leads in terms of potential clients that could be working with us. But then, in other words, the other leads are coming in, and that's our audience. Those are the people that are finding out about us, going, oh, who's this person? What do they do? What do they teach? And maybe they're not a candidate, if you will, for coaching, but maybe, if you will, they join your private Facebook group. Maybe they join your email database. they become a fan of yours and they start consuming your free education, your free information. All of our marketing, and we'll go into in some other calls as well, and what I teach is our marketing is, I just like to call it education-based marketing. That's what marketing is. It's sharing your education, sharing your message, sharing value, just like I'm doing right now. This is all free stuff. I'm not selling you anything. I'm not pushing anything on you guys. I'm giving you really good content and stuff that's going to help you move your business forward. This is marketing, right? And when people like what they hear, they like what you do, they naturally start to inquire about things, they start to become a fan of yours, they start to follow you, you start to engage with them and interact with them and know about them and be genuinely interested in who they are and what they do. And they become a fan of yours and they become loyal. And at some point, they may or may not engage, but a certain percentage of those people will end up hiring you, end up buying your products or services outside of coaching as well when you have them. So that's, in terms of what we do in terms of marketing to engage, build an audience, and then grow our business. But that's in terms of a time perspective. If you're looking, okay, I want to have that 10 to 12, clients a week, if you will. Well, what else am I doing with my time? And then we have another, let's just say 20 hours or so, 20 plus hours where we're doing that marketing and engaging. We're already up to 30, 35 hours. And honestly, why are we working more than 40 hours? I mean, have I worked more than 40 hours in a week? Absolutely. But this is a lifestyle business. This is a business where, we can really be effective and efficient with what we're doing, and you shouldn't be putting in more than 40 hours. And I'm not encouraging you, oh, Jeff's telling you, I don't have to work hard, I don't have to put in the hours. It's like, no, but, you got to set your schedule and, when are you working out? When are you spending time with you? If you have children or your spouse, or when are you doing your hobbies, or when are you doing the things that you love to do to live your life? Those are very, very important aspects of what we do. And there's no reason why we should be working more than 40 hours a week in this type of a business. We can earn, my objective here is I go through this stuff and everything I teach is I want to teach you to create a healthy six-figure income, maybe $75,000, $90,000, $100,000, $150,000 a year. Because it's like, I've worked with so many people in terms of, I've had so many millionaire clients, people earning like sick, stupid money, and it's just insane. And what I've seen over the years is that at the end of the day, there's another zero on the paycheck, there's another zero on the bills. There's another few zeros on the paycheck, there's another few zeros on the liabilities and what they're responsible for. And it's the same thing, only that much bigger. And it's not with everybody, but that's, if you will, the average person is. And we've got to look at it and say, can you live really well off a good six-figure, $150,000, $200,000? Absolutely. If you save 25% of your income and you put that away every month, and some of you might, 25%, oh my God. Get to that point, and that's what I do, and that's what I've learned, and that's what I preach, and it's like, you'll never have to worry about money again. And so it doesn't matter how much you're earning. If you take a certain, that, if you will, that 25%, you could be earning $50,000 or $20,000 a year. And if you're still putting that away, yeah, you're having less overall, but you can do it. So I'm trying to give you these perspectives of, if you're looking to say, oh, I want to earn, $250,000, $500,000, great. I'll take you up to that point and go find someone else and work with them and find some other methods. But I want to be realistic in terms of where we're going to start off with, what we're charging, what that's going to start to get us. Let's start to get confidence in ourselves and our abilities, and then start to grow from there. And let's earn your first, sell your first coaching package. Have your first, $1,000 month. Have your first, $5,000 month. Have your first $5,000 day at an event. And you start building those steps. And that's where you start to get more and more confident in what you offer. So in terms of, again, this all goes back to, the pricing structure of what we're looking for. That's why that $100 to $200 mark comes in there. Also, when you talk about what people might expect to pay, and again, I don't use a lot of those services, but I come from a personal training industry and, massage therapy and a lot of those wellness services, if you will, if I'm getting a massage or working with a sports therapist or chiropractic work, and some things are, covered or partially covered with insurances. But, you're looking at, depending on the types of services you're looking for, you're looking at between $70, $75, maybe $90, and it all obviously depends on area. If you're in a city like a New York City or LA, we're not going to talk about that. It's the anomaly, if you will. It's obviously going to be much higher in terms of expectation. But then again, so isn't the average income in those cities as well. So it all relates to the same thing. But that's where, I mean, to get those types of services. So to work with a professional who's passionate about what they're doing, who believes in themselves and has that confidence, and again, it's all going to come down to that $100 to that $200 mark is really a great sweet spot. And of course, the higher you get, there's going to be more expectation. So, you know, if you have a website and they go there and you're charging, let's say $200 a session, for instance, there's going to be a certain expectation level that goes along with that. So if they go to your website or they see some of your materials and it looks like, you know, a $50 an hour type of website, if you will, or you get where I'm going with this, and it just looks very shoddy or put together, that can impact someone's decision. But what outweighs all of that and makes all of that actually very irrelevant, I mean, I could have the crappiest website out there, but if you're listening to a call, let's say like tonight, and you're like, wow, this is great information, or wow, this person really knows what they're talking about, or they have some great experience, and you go to my website, well, it might be like, wow, this website sucks, or whatever it is. You know, what outweighs all of that is your expertise and your ability and their belief in you from that perspective. That's going to outweigh all that stuff. So always remember, it's just be strong in your message. And that's why, like, you know, I talked in the beginning about my Facebook group, and I'm getting people out there and starting to share their message and getting comfortable with themselves, because once you start being comfortable in the value that you're delivering, and then once people start hiring you, I'm telling you, the first time someone hires you at $100 a session or whatever you charge to start off with, you're going to be like, huh, okay, maybe I could charge more, right? And then, you know, or the first time you start getting booked or you're too busy and you got a lot going on, and then the first time you get to that spot, the first thing you think is like, oh, maybe I should raise my prices, you know? And so it's like, how can we get to that spot sooner? And how can we get to that spot where we start believing ourselves sooner? And that's practicing. It's just getting out there and asking for the sale at the end of a coaching call when we're delivering our prices. When you have someone on the phone that really believes in you and what they're offering, and they believe in the value of working with you, whether you say, here's what I charge, it's 9 sessions for $900 or 9 sessions for $1,500 or whatever that dollar amount is, when you get someone on the line that believes in what you do, that number that comes after that is irrelevant. This is why I'm saying it's irrelevant, because they believe in the value. This is so important to understand. So if you said $900 and they said, okay, great, this is great, let's move forward. If that had been $1,500, they would have said the same thing, right? If it was a little bit more, or let's say it was $2,000 or whatever it was, you know what? Maybe it was more than they were expecting, or maybe had hoped it would be, or maybe had thought it might be based on, you know, what they had thought or whatever. It doesn't mean they're not going to hire you. It just means they got to think about, okay, where are those funds going to come from? Maybe can I break the payments up a little bit? But it's not going to change them moving forward or not. That's when you get to really embracing that, not just hearing it logically, but experiencing it and seeing the value of it. That's when you're going to start to feel more confident in charging let's say a healthier per session price than you would waiting till you get to the spot of, okay, now I'm super busy, now I feel like I need to charge more money. Don't wait for that spot. That's why I'm hopefully encouraging you some of those things right now. In the last few minutes, I want to wrap up, and I just want to go over our job in terms of when we're working with people. And I'm going to elaborate this on another call as well, because it's going to be important. And this goes right in hand with what I just spoke about, that value piece. People hire us because they see value in working with us. They believe that by hiring us and investing money with us, and really in themselves, obviously, to move forward, that they're going to get value and they're going to create results and they're going to move forward in their lives. And so with that value, every single session we have with somebody, and this is my philosophy that I take on with my clients, and those people that are my clients know, like, I back this up. I don't just talk this stuff. Like, I do this stuff. And I'm serious about it, is that every single call we have, every single week with that client, your number one objective is, and this is what I think is that, okay, this person is rehiring me every single week. Obviously not rehiring you per se, but in theory, they're rehiring you, and you got to look at it like that. And you've got to be really in tune as someone's coach to know, where is my value with this client right now? Not where it was when they hired me X amount of days or weeks or months ago, or where will it be in X amount of days or weeks, forward from now, but where is it right now with them? You've got to have a really good barometer. You got to have really good communication with your clients. If I don't hear from clients in between our sessions, I don't make it mandatory. I always offer it. But if I don't hear from someone in a week, like if it's 3 or 4 days have gone by, or it's a brand new week at the beginning of the week, I haven't heard from them, I'm sending an email out to people. Hey, what's up? I know, what have you done? I'm curious, just give me an update. Tell me where you're going. I just engage with them, Now that I have the Facebook group as well, it's a great way to see, are they posting things? Are they engaging with things? I can get a good barometer on where their energy is. Are they moving forward? Are they down? Especially if you work with someone for a little bit, you start to get a good feel for where they are and how they normally act as well. So I'm always looking for those things, and that's what I'm teaching you right now. Is your job is to say, where's the value for them right now? Where can I be of the most help, the most value to them? What's going to make them go like, oh my God, I can't live without this person, or they're so great. They help me so much. They're an invaluable piece of my life right now. They're an invaluable piece of my success. They're an invaluable piece of my energy levels, my result levels, or whatever it is that they're going through. And you're always engaged with them, because that gives them value. And don't do it when you're at session 7, 8, or 9, or when they're going to start thinking about hiring you again, or when it's coming to the quote end of the first round of sessions, if we will. You want to be doing this all the time. And when you do this, what it does is you're going to create much stronger relationships with your clients. And further than that, you're going to work with your clients longer. I thought of this today. I didn't have time to do it, but I want to actually see if I can come up with a number for this. But I want to find out the average amount of sessions, if you will, that I work with the average client for. Because the reason I've created a sustained business is not because I have high volume or number of clients that I've worked with. It's that because the clients I work with for a much longer period of time. Like right now, like I said, I do 10 to 12 sessions a week. And right now I've got I'd say about 30, 32 active clients, because some of those people I've been literally working with for years now. But of those 32 active clients, some of them I meet with once a month. But I've been working with them. One guy and his group, I've been working with them for 5 years now. Another one, 1.5 years. And these people just off the top of my head. Another guy, 2 years. We've gone 110 sessions we did today. Every freaking week I meet with this dude. And I've over the course of 11 years, I've had 15 people, I know this statistic, 15 people have 100 sessions or more with me over whatever period of time that it was, but over 100 sessions with me. And I'm not sitting here bragging about this. I'm sharing this with you because what I'm teaching you here, what that does is it creates a stronger bond, and it creates a longer lasting relationship, and there's consistent value, and you always know where that person is. And what that does is that translates in the end to a longer relationship with that person. And so that's two things for us. If we're thinking about it from a results perspective, it's like, wow, what could you do? Let me ask you this. What could you do with someone if you knew in the beginning that they were going to work with you for 100 sessions? Right? What could you do with them? If you get 100 sessions with them, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It could be every week. It could be every other week. It could be whatever it ends up translating to. It could be a year, over a couple of years. It could be over 5 years, whatever it is. What could you do with that person? Like, you could kick some ass, couldn't you? I mean, that's really good stuff versus, your 4, your 8, or even 9 sessions initially. But this is what it turns into. So the reason I'm saying this stuff is from a result perspective. Think of the results you can get with someone when you do this. This is how you develop it. This is how you do this. Is by what I'm teaching you here is always be looking for that value. Always stay up on things. Always go above and beyond. Under promise, over deliver. I don't even promise anything, but I just over deliver on an expectation, if you will. I will make phone calls, just random calls to people whenever if they email me something, they ask a question and it's like, oh God, I could spend 15 minutes typing something out, but screw it, I'm just gonna call them, and I spend 15, 20 minutes with them on the phone. I'm not charging them for that time. It's bonus. It's just like, I want to help you create results. And this is the kind of stuff that people love and they eat it up. And I'm not doing it so that they eat it up, just like, oh, Jeff's awesome. It's because I care. And this is what I want you to do. And when you do this stuff, I'm telling you, this is what's gonna translate to longer relationships. Additionally, from a business perspective, again, we're helping you create a full-time business and a full-time income with this, is that when you are with someone longer, again, you need less clients, you have less turnover. That means more consistency in your business. And when you work with people longer over time, you have more consistency of revenue and income. And I will tell you, when you don't have that, and you get a new client, it takes a lot to get a new client. It takes a lot of effort, it's a lot of connecting with people, and sometimes they come, and sometimes it's just like you're working for it, and developing relationships. But if they're in and out in 4, 8, or if you're doing the 9 sessions like I recommend, if they're just in and out at 9 sessions, man, you're gonna have to get a lot of clients and a lot of leads to keep that going, and that's stressful. And so this is a surefire way to really develop that relationship and keep those people long term.